Hello you guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to do a 10 things that you should know as your first day as an Instacart shopper. If you are brand new to the channel, I did do a full walkthrough of the Instacart shopper app, what it looks like, how to use it, what your page is going to look like, all of that stuff. So if that's the kind of content you specifically are looking for in terms of how the app even works and runs, I'll link that video down below because like I said, I go through it, I show you my phone, I show you all that stuff. I'm not going to be doing that in this video, but this is kind of a part 2 to that video. This is 10 things that I wrote down that I thought would be really helpful for your first day as you've hopped on. So you've already got a tour of the app, how the app is going to work, how you're going to essentially do your orders, and then I wanted to do this video to mention some things that would hopefully be helpful as you do your first batch. So if you are enjoying this kind of content, also if you're interested in reselling content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I do plan very soon, probably part 3 to the Instacart shopper series will be me actually showing you guys physically a walkthrough of doing a shop from beginning to, from like start to delivery. So if you're interested in that, leave a comment below and like the video so that way I know you want to see that, and we'll try to do that for part 3 of this series of Instacart videos. So I'm gonna hop right in. Like I said, there's 10 things that specifically for day 1 I think are really important, slash just knowing what you're getting yourself into when you take these batches. So the first thing that I wanted to let you guys know is that your tips can be changed for up to 24 hours. Now, most of the time this is a good thing. I just recently did an Instacart order where the customer was very happy with the replacements that I made, how I was talking to her and making sure she got exactly what she ordered, and so she raised my tip. However, that can also mean that you can be tip baited. I have not been tip baited specifically on Instacart, but it is something to take in consideration. Just being aware that that can happen. Obviously, the only thing we can do in our power is provide the best customer service possible and leave it up to that. But it is a positive in the fact that, again, if you get superior customer service and that customer is very happy, you could get a raise in your tip. I don't think Instacart necessarily does hidden tips because they do show you that, which is tip number 2, is that they do show you the tip amount. They show you the batch pay, which is what Instacart is going to pay you, and they also show you the items. So you already know up front what you're going to be getting, which is a huge plus if you're a DoorDash, Uber Eats worker as well. There is no surprises with what you're going to get, even shipped. I have stepped away from doing shipped because of the fact that you don't get to see your tip up front. So it is really nice, and to me it's just kind of a bonus. If you get your tip raised, it's awesome, it's great, but at least you know up front when you're going to take your first order, you can decide how much you want to make. Usually shopping orders take longer, so you can decide how much you want to be paid for the hour, how much you want to be paid for the amount of stuff that the customer is ordering, whether it be 4 things or 40 things. You are in control of that and you get to see that. So those are tip number 1 and tip number 2. Thing number 3 is that when you are doing your first shop, this is something I didn't show in my last video because I haven't done an actual walkthrough with you yet of what an actual order looks like, but there will be a timer at the bottom of your screen when you actually start shopping inside of the store. Now, some apps like DoorDash uses this to just tell you how fast you are, or like how good you are at finding the items. And while you can use that metric for that if you choose to, Instacart's number feature is actually to help you deliver the order on time. So when you accept your first order, you will be able to see the customer's address at that point, and also when they're expecting you. So it'll say deliver by this time, which is generally like the time that the customer chose that they want you to drop off their order. So what that timer does is that when you arrive at the store, it tells you if you want to make it to the customer on time, make them happy, you've got about anywhere I've seen from 16 minutes for like a small order up until, you know, a whole 55 hour and a half if you have 2 or 3 orders. And if you finish in a less amount of time, good for you. I mean, if you know your stores and you go all the time and the more orders that you do, you're probably going to cut that time in half. But that gives you a good estimate to know that you can take your time. This is exactly how much time you have to thoroughly go through the store and also ensure that you're delivering your order on time, which I like. I know some people can get stressed out with timers, and then for your first order you might get a little stressed out. But I just wanted to come from a more positive side of, don't look at that timer as in like, this is the determination of how good of a shopper I am. It's just a tool to help you get the order there to the address on time. And that leads us into tip number 4, is that timer will actually change depending on when you get to the store. So for me, in the exact location of my home where I am, I have one store that is about a mile away and will take me like 2 minutes to get to. But a lot of the other stores / the better, more busier stores in my area are about a 5-mile drive, which is not bad in terms of just driving distance, in my opinion, but it does take a few extra minutes to get there. So depending on when I leave here and when I get there, that timer will start to shrink. So if I have an order here at this store, I might actually have a full hour to shop for that order, versus if you have to drive to the store, you might now have, you know, 45, even 35 minutes to shop for the order. Again, Instacart does help you out by giving you that timer so you know, so you don't have to like play mathematician in your head. But do be aware of that, that, you know, it will adjust, again, just to make sure that you get the order there on time, which I think is a good feature, just because you don't have to, like I said, time things out in your head. You have this little guide to be like, this is how much time you should be spending on an item, and it also just helps you. Like I said, if you want to use that metric to say, this is how fast I can get shops done. I like this store. I don't like this store because it may take you longer because you don't understand the layout of the store. I have a couple stores like that I will go to every now and then, but it will take me significantly longer because the store is just a hot mess. So those are tips 1 through 4. The next tip that I want to share with you may not seem significant, but it can be confusing. So again, I will show this actual section of the app, and if I can find photos of like what the app looks like, I'll try to put it here, but more than likely I'll just save it for the shopping video. So make sure that you're subscribed for that. But most transactions, if you're a DoorDash driver already, if you're used to the gig work, you know, economy and the different apps and stuff, you'll be used to shop and pay orders where you just check out as credit. You don't have to have a PIN number, you don't have to do anything like that. You just swipe the card and you go. However, I do want you to be aware that I think it's this month, or maybe it was back in November, they did do a switch to where they are going to start introducing PINs for people's orders. Now, as far as why they're doing that, I can't give you an exact answer on that. I do know that the only time as of right now, in December 2022 when I'm filming this video, is the only time in my area that I've had to do a debit transaction is when I do alcohol. And I believe that's probably just to make sure that you did order the right items, make sure that you did pay for the items, you know, just making sure that everything is the way that it should be. But you do want to check. So the way that you're going to do that is when you check out your order, it will tell you credit or debit. And if it's debit, it'll have big black numbers with what your 4-digit PIN is. I think mine has always been the same, again, because it's been the exact same store, and it's been alcohol delivery. So, but just make sure that you check. Don't assume that it's a credit purchase and then your purchase doesn't go through when you're at the register. It's just an extra 5 seconds that'll save you from, you know, being flustered at the register. Of course, if this really is your first Instacart shop and you're watching these before you even go out and do your orders, I think it's an important tip. Like I said, some people might be like, that doesn't really matter, but I think it does, because I think that it'll help you from being less flustered at the store, and it'll show you exactly what you need, you know, to check out that order, get it done, and get it done efficiently. So the next tip that I have for you guys is to check substitutions before messaging your customer. Now the reason why I say this is because in Instacart's app, they actually will allow the customer to pick their substitution. So I'm not saying don't message your customer at all. What I'm saying is that when an item is out of stock, you can obviously hit that you can't find the item, and sometimes it'll pop up and say this is their first choice, or it'll have a thumbs up to where the customer put in the app that they're okay with you picking out that item. And the reason why I say to do that before messaging them is just because it saves time. Some customers don't go near their phone, are not responsive, whatever the case is. It's just nice to check beforehand. And again, the way you'll know that is it'll pop up and tell you this is their choice, this is what they asked for. Or option 2 is that Instacart will tell you these are what we think you should grab. And then the third option is for you to take a picture of the shelf and say, look, your juices aren't here, but this is what they have on the shelf. What can I get you? I myself don't take pictures of the shelf just because I try to find the thing that's closest. So say they asked for, a gallon of chocolate milk, but they only have a half gallon. I won't take a picture of it. I will just tell them they have a half gallon. Is that okay? And they'll tell me, yes or no, and we'll move on from there. So, again, not saying don't reach out to your customer at all. I just think that if you hit that extra button, it'll save you just a little bit of extra time because the customer has already said that's fine. And usually Instacart will do that because the store is low on stock, especially with the holiday season right now. I think that's why this video is even more important, because I know a lot of you guys are wanting to make extra money for the holidays, and the holidays are a busier time for grocery shopping, deliveries in general. And so a lot of stuff is going to be out of stock, and Instacart knows that, and it will tell you. You'll see on your end, it'll say this item is in really high demand, so you're aware that you might not find it, and Instacart tries to do their part to tell the customer, look, the shopper might not be able to find this, select an item. And also, if you have quote-unquote picky customers that, they really want a specific brand, or it has to be organic, or it has to be something like that, they can go ahead and tell you, so that way you're not searching for something that they can't eat or that they don't want. It just makes things a lot easier. Of course, you can always go in afterwards and say, hey, just want to make sure you notice that I substituted this item. If all is good, let me know. Or I know some people can wait until the very end and say, look, check your app. I made all these substitutions. Let me know if everything's good to go. If we're all good, green light, I'm going to go check out. Whichever you want to do. I don't think that there is specifically a right or wrong way, besides not letting them know at all and not giving them the choice to tell you that this is not what they want. But otherwise, I don't think that there's a right or wrong way. If you want to message them every single time, if you would like to save a few extra minutes and just check to make sure if there's substitutions that they picked, and sometimes they don't even want a substitution. I have wasted a few minutes of my time waiting to see if they're going to want a substitution, just to hit the button that says I can't find this item, and they just want a refund. So again, just save the extra 30 seconds and just see if they picked a substitution or if they just want a refund. And if none of those options are there, then go ahead and say, this is what I found that's closest to what you asked for. Let's figure out what you want instead. And to go along with that, Instacart does not want you to call the customer. I do think that this is a silly thing. I know that it's this whole, let's not be bothered and, groceries just pop up at your door type thing. I know that would be ideal. As of filming this video, I literally just did an Amazon Fresh order yesterday, and they didn't bother me at all. However, when there's a human being shopping for your orders, in real time, it's not in a warehouse, that things can happen, and you might, run out of items, or when it comes to delivery, there are a lot of customers that don't give their apartment gate code, or don't give their HOA housing gate code, and you cannot physically get to their house. So I wanted to throw this in there because it can be really confusing, because when you are looking at the delivery screen, where it'll show you, where you're going. It'll have the button to navigate to the address. It'll have the little chat bubble for you to chat with them. The call button is usually grayed out, and that can be really confusing / really frustrating if you are in the example of they didn't give you a gate code and you're literally just sitting there waiting for somebody to let you in. You can go into your batch details where you get all your information from, and there will be a button that you can call them. Again, it will tell you you really shouldn't call them, but if you are stuck sitting outside of somebody's gate, you can't get to their house, that's kind of you have no other option. They're not answering their phone and you need to call them. Or it's, some kind of safety situation. Who knows? There is certain points where I do think that you should call your customer, and if you are doing this for the very first time and you are, locked out or gated out of a certain situation, you can get flustered, you can get overwhelmed. So like I said, I did want to let you guys know that, number one, you really shouldn't call them unless it tells you to. If they want you to review things with them, Instacart will let you know that it's okay to call them. They'll actually connect you to call them, but typically we're not supposed to. But again, if it comes down to it, yes, you can. There is a feature where you can go in and eventually be able to call them. But I know, like I said, in the moment when you're doing that, you're like, why is this grayed out? Why are they not answering? What do I do? And of course, if all else fails, if you really can't get to a customer, I've only had this happen one time, but because it was a Walgreens order that had medicine in it, not from the pharmacy necessarily, like their prescriptions, but I think like a cold and flu medicine that they wanted me to get their ID for. I was not able to reach the customer, and I did try calling, went through all the steps, and they just wouldn't answer. So at that point, I reached out to support, and we just figured it out from there. So that's always an option too, if you just like flat out do not want to call them at all. Instacart usually will call them for you before they like cancel the order and tell you to take the groceries back or whatever it is that they tell you to do. They can reach out on their end if you're just like, I'm not going to call them. I don't want anything to do with that. Not that they'll have your number, because Instacart does hide your number, like you're not calling from your personal phone number, so you don't have to worry about that. But like I said, if you don't want to call them at all, let support step in and do that. And then I'm trying to make sure I didn't skip stuff because I think I went out of order, you guys. Okay, so yeah, I talked about that. Okay, so we're on tip number 7. So, like I said, if this is your first Instacart delivery experience or delivery day, something that you should also know is that if you happen to accept an order, even though you can see all the items ahead of time, the only thing you can't see is the exact location. Like, it will show you kind of generally where it is, and obviously if you're familiar with the area, like I try to deliver here by where I live because I know the area. But if it just happens to be somewhere where you're not 100% sure, but the pay looks good, you want to jump on it before somebody else does, and you happen to notice something that you're not okay with, whether it be an area you don't want to deliver to, or maybe this isn't your very first batch, maybe this is like week 2 and you had a bad experience with a customer and you realize that this is that customer and you don't want to take it, you are allowed to cancel orders just like you do on Uber Eats, just like you do on DoorDash when you unassign an order. You are allowed to do that. However, keep in mind that your cancellation rate resets after every 100 orders. So, with that being said, you can only be up to, once you get up to, 15%, they can deactivate your account. So, in a sense, you only have 15 times that you can do that before it becomes a problem. And even so, I had my cancellation rate go up to 10% because I just prefer not to deliver to apartments. I've done more and more apartments as I've just been doing more deliveries, but there has been some times where I just don't want to go to certain complexes. People order insane amounts of stuff and I just don't want to, which is okay. You're an independent contractor, you can do as you want. And if that's the kind of situation you're in, you just don't want to, or / you can't. Maybe your phone ended up your phone is dying, or you forgot your charger, or it's starting to downpour rain. I've had that happen as well, where I was driving to the store and the rain got to the point where like I couldn't even see in front of me. You're allowed to unassign those orders, but do keep in mind of your, you know, cancellation rate, just to make sure that you don't get deactivated, because none of us want to do that. Obviously that's probably not going to happen your very first day unless you decide to cancel every single order that you accept, which in that way is kind of silly, because then you wouldn't be making money, but just keep that in the back of your mind. The next tip that I want to talk about is using insulated bags. So again, if you're coming from DoorDash and Uber Eats and Grubhub and things like that, you probably already have insulated bags. When I signed up for the Shipped app, they did send us bags. I don't know if they send bags anymore or even send bags like they used to. Ours were fantastic, although insulated bags thankfully are not very expensive. So if you wanted to just buy your own, you can buy your own. But for your first day, if you don't have them already, if you're not a food delivery driver, if this is the first gig app that you're trying out, definitely grab some insulated bags. Number one, because of the fact that you have refrigerated stuff like ice cream and stuff like that, and it helps you keep it colder for longer. But also number two is that it helps you be more efficient, because if you don't want to invest in a like rolling cart, as if you watch anybody's like shop with me videos, if I remember, I'll put it in the I'm reminding myself right now as I'm going through this video to try to put some people who do ride along videos. They will have carts that they pull with them. Those are a little pricey, so if you're not ready to, like, you know, spend hundreds of dollars for your business just yet, which is totally fine, I recommend getting the insulated bags and getting IKEA bags. It's something that I've noticed as I'm using grocery delivery more often now because I have 3 kiddos. The IKEA bags is something that a lot of the shoppers are using because obviously they're ginormous, and you can carry everything in one go because driveways are long, apartment stairways, whatever it is, the less trips that you can make, obviously the better, because it's faster, it's easier, and it's just way less on you that you're trying to carry wherever these places are. Especially like in our area, we have a very like luxury type environment, a neighborhood slash like city of its own, and the houses are beautiful, but the driveways are, or not the driveways, the walkway to the door is like, I don't know, I want to say at least like 100 feet or something. It's kind of ridiculous. So even though it's a home and you're not walking up, you know, flights of stairs to an apartment, it's still a pain in the butt. So do what you can. The IKEA bags are the cheapest. They're not going to keep your stuff cold, so do keep that in mind. But the IKEA bags are your cheapest option. If you just don't have an insulated bag, you could always throw some ice packs in there. Usually short distances. I know this might be a little controversial, but short distances, I don't think it's absolutely necessary that you use an insulated bag, but you know, best customer service first. If you want to make sure all their stuff is cold, stays cold, stays fresh, then use your insulated bag. We are on tip number 9 now. So this is just, again, kind of a silly tip, but I wanted to let you guys know because, again, if you're doing all of the apps, you probably already know to track your mileage, and something that Instacart, the app, does not do is tell you your mileage from where you are literally sitting to the store that you're going to. And this is important because, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I have some stores that I am willing to drive to because it's only like 4 or 5 miles, but it is 4 or 5 miles on top of the miles that I'm having to drive for this order. So when you accept an order, when you get an order, I should say, it'll tell you, you know, $20 for this order, 6.4 miles. That 6.4 miles is only from the store that you're shopping from to the customer's address. So in my case, if I still have to drive to the store, that's a total of 9 to 10 miles. Would I still do it? Maybe. But again, if you're doing other gig apps, if you've watched other gig drivers who, you know, usually will tell you to keep your pay to $2 a mile, you want to make sure you count that, especially if, again, you might be okay driving across town to a better area to shop over there, but you have to keep in mind that where you are literally sitting to where the store that they offered you your order from, they don't count those miles. So track those miles and also be aware of that when you accept your order. And the last and final tip I have for you on your very first shopping experience with Instacart is to keep your receipts. Instacart will tell you this when you are checking out your order. And I think most of us do that anyway, but again, maybe you've never done a, shop and pay order for DoorDash or Uber or Grubhub or anything like that. But I will tell you is there 2 or is there 3? I want to say there's only 2 reasons to keep your receipts, at least for me in my area. So the first one being is that the customers can actually have you return items. It doesn't happen very frequently, but I do have one specific experience where I had a customer, and although I could have told her no, I know you guys are probably going to be in the comments of like, you could tell her that's not my job. I could have, but I just didn't. I grabbed her the wrong kind of tomatoes, and even though she probably could have checked that on the app, or whatever the argument is, let's just move past that. She wanted me to go back to the store and exchange it, so I did. And you need the receipt for that, and I explained to them, that I am a shopper, I grabbed the wrong thing, I need to switch it out, and it's no issues. Like I said, 90% of the time they're not going to do that. Even if they do get the wrong item, or a customer's unhappy with what you brought them, they can just report it to Instacart, and, Instacart will refund them, but it's still a good idea just to keep it, because you never know if you're going to run into that, / if you can't get to the customer's house, like I just told you guys earlier with that Walgreens order that I had, they can ask you to take the items back, and if you throw your receipt away, it's going to make it a little bit harder for the store to look up your order and have you return the item. So just keep your receipt. Like I said, once the order is delivered at the house, you can kind of just throw your receipts away. It's not that big of a deal, but you want to make sure that you have it for if you do have to return to the store. And for reason number 2 is that, like I said, at least in my area, a lot of the stores do like surveys at the bottom of their receipt, which you never know. You could win one of those surveys. A lot of them give like incentives if you fill out their surveys. If you are a money saving connoisseur, if you're into that, there's apps like Fetch Rewards, which I'll put a link below if you're interested in that, where you can scan your receipts and get extra points, and you can get yourself some coffee before you go out to do your shopping and stuff. It's just a little incentive to keep your receipts, scan it on your apps. If you have rebate apps like Ibotta and stuff like that, you can use those receipts to just get some extra incentives. I mean, you already did the shopping, you already have the receipt, you might as well just scan it. And like I said, Fetch Rewards is my favorite, just because you don't have to like look for certain items or buy specific items. Just scan your receipt before you throw it away after you deliver your order, and then go treat yourself for some coffee after you rack up enough points and stuff like that. So there's the video. I tried to make it short, but you guys, if you've been here for a while, I ramble a little bit, but I really do hope this is helpful. I saw a lot of good response with my app walkthrough video, that I wanted to do another one to hopefully help you guys in your first week or first day of Instacart shopping. So if you found this video helpful, let me know. Again, if you're wanting to see a part 3 to the series, which would be me showing you a full order / ride along, then give a thumbs up to this video, or just let me know in the comments, and I can't wait to see you guys in that video. Bye!